You know, Rwanda wants to be, when I think about our nation, we want to be independent. Kwijira, right? We want to be, financially independent. We want to be militarily independent. We want to be diplomatically independent. We want to be able to choose where we go. We want to be the captains of our own ships. And that fully falls even within finances and the financial sector. But while we want to be independent, more and more of our financial sector is becoming foreign owned. I mean, even BPR, which back in the day was called Banque Populaire, Banque y'abaturage, right? It was a fully run and owned bank. It was almost a cooperative bank, if I'm not mistaken. Now it's about 80% owned by KCB Group, which is okay. But I'd like to ask this question, right? So we're two Rwandans, right? You're the MD of BPR, but you're also a Rwandan.
Yeah.
And you wish the best for this country.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the conversations that we often see is foreign banks come and an external party is controlling your savings. It's controlling your credit. It's controlling your capital flows. Someone else. That's a somewhat uncomfortable place to be. Sometimes there's a certain risk aspect. So I'm just going to ask you, like, are we not putting our national security, our national hopes, really, our hopes and dreams in the hands of people who fundamentally see us not as Patience and Sunny, but see us as mere numbers on a spreadsheet?
So my view to this has always been, I think you need to double click to that, because I know it's a worry, it's a concern that most analysts have, to say, when you look at the financial sector in Rwanda, there's hardly any locally owned bank. But I think it's quite simplistic to just assume that you're outsourcing the economic development or economic power of the country by that happening. Because number one, what you really want is a country that is connected, right? In fact, if anything, we don't have enough regionally and internationally connected financial institutions
What do
in
you mean by
Rwanda.
that?
When you think about the banks that we have in Rwanda, the largest would be, obviously BK as a locally owned bank, but everything else would be a regional bank. So we are not connected internationally. You don't have the likes of Standard Chartered. You don't have Citibank. You don't have the big brands.
Do we want them here?
Because it's all about connectivity. It's the same way when I think about financial flows, it's similar to how I would think about, say, logistics, right? Maybe we do not need them, but we still, in a sense of their actual presence, but we need that connectivity. Because believe it or not, these international banks will follow international investors, and international investors do follow international banks, right? But we've also seen a lot of international banks getting out of Africa, because of regulatory issues. But the second point I wanted to raise around this matter on ownership of banks is we need to get down to how are these banks actually investing their resources. And if we go specifically to the example of BPR, today, there's not a single credit making decision that is made outside of Rwanda.
Really?
100%. Our board is, out of 9, we have 2 non-Rwandan board members. The credit committee has only 1 non-Rwandan board member, and that is a committee of 5, right? So, and the management team has 2 out of 10 leadership, the key leadership, 2 out of 10 are non-Rwandan. So majority Rwandan, right? When a credit is made, it is initiated, recommended, and approved by a credit committee, which is 90% Rwandan. So you have people who are deciding on how the capital of the bank is going to be invested, people that understand this market and people that have the full interest of this country at heart. So for me, it's about who is making these decisions, right? Yes, this foreign bank brought in their money. They invested in the country. Obviously, they want to maximize returns. But for me, the question needs to be, how is this capital of theirs being used to improve the economic development of the country? So in the case of BPR, for example, 90% of our investments is in loans. And loans are made in the productive sector. So we are financing businesses, we are financing the private sector to contribute to the development of the country, and to some extent also public sector. And then whatever is left is what we put into, government bonds, we put into T-bills, and probably make placements internationally. But that is in the spare liquidity that we have. Primarily, we're investing in the economic development of this country. So for me, that question around the ownership, it's really about how are we using this capital?
I guess because you're right when you say, okay, we are lending to Rwandan people, Rwandan companies, Rwandan potential house buyers, and that's great. But fundamentally, is the money that is being made, is it being reinvested into the economy, or again, that flow of money out of Rwanda to, I guess in your case, Nairobi, is that what is happening? Because you look at certain countries, an example might be Ethiopia, right? They have crazy controls, right? Forex controls. You cannot move money out. You can bring money in.
Yeah.
Getting it out is, and we've chosen, I think, a more liberal. You invest your money. You can take it. You can take all the money out that you'd like. I guess I'm in that space where I hear what you're saying, but something maybe doesn't feel fully right. It's slightly uncomfortable to feel that, what, the same way, your shareholder can wake up and say, okay, we're going to sell this off. And
for me, to the question that you raised around, the comparison with Ethiopia, is that really what we want? A closed off economy?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's for you to kind of help us make a better sense. Okay, what are our choices? Maybe that can help us. If BPR was fully Rwandan owned, and you were still the MD, how would it change the way it worked? How would things change?
So number one, today, I don't see anything that we would be doing differently if we were 100% locally owned. I do not see anything that we would do differently. We are benefiting from, economies of scale by being part of a group that has tried and tested a few things that we then get to replicate. Our digital transformation journey is able to move a lot faster because there's a more advanced economy that we are digitally that we are piggybacking on. Right? So technological enhancements can move a lot faster. People development, we get a lot of our skills transfers is from, people going to Kenya and trying to understand, how things are done. Those are things that we probably wouldn't have been benefiting from if we were not part of a regional powerhouse. Then additionally, we're positioning ourselves as a financial hub. Right? If you're going to do that, you want to position yourself regulatory-wise, process-wise, system-wise. You need to have an enabling environment to attract this capital that is going to fuel your growth. So for me, any day, I would argue, let's attract this capital in. This is the capital that is going to be invested in growing this economy. Through this capital is where we're going to have technological advancements. This is where we're going to have a lot more exposure for our people. So I would argue for foreign capital flows as much as I can. Yeah.